King of Seoul didn't die in a car crash. He was murdered in his hospital bed by the man he called brother. And the only person who saw it happen was the waitress who refused to let him go. Real quick, hit that subscribe button and like this video right now. Then drop a comment. Where are you watching from, and what time is it? I want to see my global community. Go ahead, I'll wait. Good. Now let's begin. The VIP wing of Seoul Central Hospital smells like antiseptic and expensive flowers. It's 2:47 a.m., and the hallways are empty, except for the soft squeak of nurses' shoes and the distant hum of medical equipment, keeping the city's wealthiest alive. Room 1207 is different. It's silent. Too silent. Inside, Jumong, the man they called the modern king, the untouchable boss of the Yongsan Circle, lies motionless beneath crisp, white sheets. His face is swollen from the accident. A 10-car pileup on the Gangnam Expressway. That's what the news said. A tragic collision. The king brought low by fate. But fate had nothing to do with it. Standing beside the bed is Min-ho Park, Jumong's best friend since childhood, his second in command. The man Jumong called brother when blood family had abandoned him. Min-ho's face is a carefully constructed mask of grief. Red eyes, trembling hands, the perfect performance of a loyal lieutenant watching his king slip away. But his hands aren't trembling from sadness. They're trembling from adrenaline. Min-ho glances at the door. The hallway is clear. The nurse won't return for another 20 minutes. The security cameras in this wing have been conveniently malfunctioning for the past hour, a favor from a well-paid technician. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a small syringe filled with clear liquid. Potassium chloride. Untraceable in a post-mortem, especially in a man already ravaged by trauma. It'll stop the heart in minutes, mimicking cardiac arrest brought on by the accident. The perfect murder disguised as medical tragedy. Min-ho's jaw clenches as he uncaps the syringe. "I'm sorry, Hyung," he whispers in Korean, using the term for older brother. "But you were never going to let me lead. You were never going to step aside." His hand moves to the IV line. "This kingdom needs a king who can evolve. You're stuck in the old ways, loyal to the code, refusing to expand into the new markets. You've become a relic, Jumong. And relics belong in museums or graves." He inserts the needle into the IV port. Slowly, he presses the plunger. The clear liquid disappears into the line, traveling toward Jumong's vein. Min-ho steps back, watching the monitors, waiting. 30 seconds pass. The heart rate monitor begins to slow. Beep, beep, beep. Jumong's chest rises and falls more shallowly. Beep, beep, beep. Min-ho takes out his phone, preparing to call the medical team. He needs to be in the hallway, shouting for help when they arrive. The devastated brother, the loyal friend who tried everything. He's almost to the door when movement. Just outside the window of the door, a shadow. Min-ho freezes. Someone's there. He opens the door slowly, looks left and right down the corridor. Empty. He exhales. Paranoia. The price of treachery. He walks briskly toward the nurse's station, phone in hand, rehearsing his panic. What Min-ho doesn't know is that someone was watching, and that someone refuses to let the king die. 15 feet down the hallway, pressed against the wall beside a medical supply cart, Becky Washington holds her breath. Her hands are shaking so badly, she has to press them against her thighs to keep the coffee cup from rattling against its saucer. She came here to deliver a get-well Americano from the hospital cafe downstairs, a late-night delivery ordered by someone claiming to be Jumong's assistant. willing to pay triple for the trouble. Becky needed the money. She always needs the money. But what she just saw through the gap in the blinds, that man, the one they've been showing on the news all day, the loyal friend, the heartbroken second in command. He just murdered Jumong. Becky's pre-med training, the 2 years she managed at Howard before her father's medical bills forced her to drop out, kicks in despite her terror. Potassium chloride in the IV line, cardiac arrest. They'll call it natural causes. No one will question it. No one except the waitress who happened to be delivering coffee at 2:47 in the morning. She hears Minho's voice down the hall, urgent and breaking with false emotion. "Someone help! Room 1207, his heart. I think he's coding." The alarm screams to life. Beep! Nurses sprint past Becky's hiding spot. The code team rushes in with the crash cart. She should run. She should disappear into the stairwell and forget she ever saw anything. Men like Jumong don't concern people like Becky Washington. His world is violence and power. Hers is rent payments and ramen noodles. But she can't move, because she knows what they don't. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. And if she walks away, the man who did this gets everything. The medical team works for 18 minutes. Chest compressions, defibrillation, epinephrine. Nothing. The lead doctor, a tired man in his 50s, finally steps back, looking at the flat green line on the monitor. Time of death, 3:11 a.m. Minho, standing in the corner with his face in his hands, lets out a convincing sob. The nurses begin to disconnect the equipment. One pulls a white sheet up over Jumong's face. The modern king is dead. The room empties slowly. Minho is the last to leave, pausing at the doorway for one final look, making sure the performance is complete. Then he's gone. Becky waits 5 minutes, then 10. The hallway is quiet again. She steps out from behind the supply cart, her heart hammering so hard she can feel it in her throat. This is insane. This is beyond insane. You're a waitress, Becky. You're not a doctor. You're not a hero. You're not. She pushes open the door to room 1207. The room is dark except for the ambient light from the medical equipment, now powered down. Jumong lies beneath the white sheet, still, silent, dead. Becky approaches the bed slowly, her hands trembling. She pulls back the sheet. His face is pale, lips slightly blue. But there's something. She presses 2 fingers to his carotid artery. Nothing. But wait. There. Faint. Almost imperceptible. A pulse. Weak. Irregular. But there. "Oh my God," she whispers. "He's not dead. He's in cardiac arrest, yes, but the potassium chloride hasn't fully stopped his heart. It's struggling, failing, but still fighting." Becky's mind races through her pharmacology training from Howard. Potassium chloride causes hyperkalemia, too much potassium in the blood. It disrupts the electrical signals in the heart. To reverse it, she needs to counteract the potassium, calcium gluconate, insulin and glucose, sodium bicarbonate. But she doesn't have access to those medications. She's not authorized. She's not even supposed to be in this room. She looks at the crash cart they left behind. Her hands move on instinct, checking drawers. Calcium gluconate, there. A vial. Insulin, there. D50 glucose solution, there. The medical team left everything behind when they pronounced him dead. Standard protocol. They'd come back later to clean up. But Becky doesn't have later. She has maybe 10 minutes before someone returns. Maybe less. She grabs a fresh IV line, a needle, and the medications. Her hands are shaking so badly, she almost drops the calcium gluconate vial. Breathe, Becky. You did this 100 times in your clinical rotations. You know how to do this. She administers the calcium gluconate first, slowly pushing it through a new IV she inserts into his arm with surprising steadiness. Then the insulin and D50 combination. She watches his face. Nothing. She checks his pulse again. Still weak, still irregular. "Come on," she whispers. "Come on, you stubborn bastard. I didn't risk my life for you to quit now." She pulls the defibrillator paddles from the crash cart. They're still charged. This is crazy. This is beyond crazy. If someone walks in right now, she's done. Arrested, deported, or worse, if Minho finds out she's interfering. She places the paddles on Jumong's chest. "Clear," she whispers to no one. She presses the button. Jumong's body convulses. The monitor stays flat. "Damn it!" She charges again. "Clear." Another shock. Still nothing. Becky's eyes burn with frustrated tears. "You don't get to die like this," she hisses. "Not murdered by that snake. Not when I'm standing right here." She charges one more time. Places the paddles. "Clear!" She hits the button. Jumong's body arches, and the monitor spikes. Beep, then another. Beep, and another. Beep, beep, beep. A rhythm, weak but steady. Becky stumbles backward, her legs nearly giving out. He's alive. She just brought a dead man back to life. No, she just brought a murdered man back to life. And now Minho, the man who tried to kill him, can never know. Becky has exactly 4 minutes before the night shift nurse makes her rounds. 4 minutes to hide the evidence of what she just did. 4 minutes to figure out how to get a man who's supposed to be dead out of this hospital without anyone noticing. She looks at Jumong's face. His color is returning slightly, the blue tinge fading from his lips. His chest rises and falls with shallow breaths. But he's not conscious, and he won't be for a while. The trauma to his system, combined with the accident injuries and the potassium poisoning, means he's going to be out for hours, maybe longer. Becky's mind races. Think. Think. She can't leave him here. When Minho realizes Jumong is alive, he'll finish the job. And this time, there won't be any witnesses left alive to interfere, including her. She checks the hallway through the door's window. Empty. The code team is probably filing reports. Minho is likely meeting with hospital administration, playing the grieving brother, while he arranges for Jumong's body to be transported to a funeral home he controls. The morgue. The thought hits her like ice water. They're going to take him to the morgue. And that's exactly where she needs him to be. Not because he belongs there, but because that's the only place Minho won't be watching. Not yet. Minho thinks his job is done. He'll wait until the body is prepped for transport before sending his people to pay respects and ensure the evidence is truly buried. Becky has a window, a small one. She disconnects the new IV line she placed, hiding it in the crash cart. She removes any evidence of the medications she used, pocketing the empty vials. Then she does something that makes her stomach turn. She reconnects Jumong to the old IV line, the one Minho poisoned. She has to make it look like nothing changed, like he died exactly the way they said he did. She pulls the white sheet back over his face, her hand lingering for just a moment on his shoulder. "I'm going to get you out of here," she whispers, "but you have to trust me, even though you don't know me yet." She slips out of the room just as footsteps echo down the hallway. 2 orderlies appear, pushing a gurney. "Room 1207? One asks a passing nurse. "Yes, the Yongsan boss, pronounced at 311. They're transporting him to the morgue now." Becky watches from behind a corner as they wheel Jumong's body out of the room. She follows at a distance, her heart pounding. The elevator descends to the basement level, the morgue. The basement of Seoul Central Hospital is a different world. Cold, sterile, silent except for the hum of refrigeration units. The orderlies wheel Jumong's body into the processing room, transfer him to a metal table, and leave. Their job done. Becky waits in the stairwell, counting the minutes. She knows the morgue protocol. She studied it during her clinical rotations. Bodies are logged, tagged, and stored in refrigerated drawers until the family arranges for transport or an autopsy is required. For a high-profile case like Jumong, there won't be an autopsy. Minho will make sure of that. Too many questions, too much scrutiny. The body will be released to a funeral home by morning, which means Becky has maybe 6 hours. She waits until the morgue attendant, a bored-looking young man in scrubs, steps out for a cigarette break. Then she moves. She slips into the morgue, her breath visible in the cold air. Jumong's body is on table 3, still covered by the white sheet. She pulls back the sheet and checks his pulse. Still there, still weak, but stable. His eyes are closed, his breathing shallow but rhythmic. Becky exhales in relief. Okay, step 1, get him out of here. Step 2, find somewhere safe to hide. Step 3, keep him alive long enough to tell him what happened. Step 4, don't get killed. She looks around the morgue. There's a service exit at the back, used for discreet body removals. It leads to a loading dock. If she can get Jumong onto a gurney and out through that exit. But she can't do it alone. He's too heavy, too unstable. She needs help, and she knows exactly who to call. Becky pulls out her phone and dials a number she hasn't called in months. It rings 3 times before a groggy voice answers. Hello? Marcus, it's Becky. A pause. Then, Becky? Girl, it's 3 in the morning. What's wrong? Marcus Chen, her former study partner from Howard. He dropped out the same semester she did, but for different reasons. He got caught up in some low-level gambling debts and had to leave D.C. in a hurry. Last she heard, he was in Seoul, working as a driver for a private car service. I need your help, Becky says, her voice urgent. And I need you not to ask questions. Becky, you're scaring me. Are you okay? I'm fine, but I need you to come to Seoul Central Hospital, the loading dock entrance, basement level, right now. What? Why? What's going on? Marcus, please. I'll explain everything later. But if you ever trusted me, I need you to trust me now. There's a long silence. Then, give me 20 minutes. Make it 15. She hangs up. Now comes the hard part. Becky finds a gurney in the hallway and wheels it into the morgue. She positions it next to Jumong's table. Moving a deadweight body is harder than it looks in the movies. She struggles, using all her strength to roll him onto the gurney. He's heavy, solid muscle beneath the hospital gown. She finally manages to get him positioned, covering him with a clean sheet from the supply closet. Just as she finishes, she hears footsteps. The morgue attendant is coming back. Becky's heart stops. She ducks behind a row of refrigerated drawers, holding her breath. The attendant walks in, humming tunelessly. He glances at the tables, does a quick count, and frowns. Thought there were 4 bodies. Must have been 3. He shrugs, pulls out his phone, and sits at the desk, scrolling through social media. Becky is trapped. She can't move without him seeing her. And Marcus will be here in 10 minutes. Think, Becky. She looks around. There's a fire alarm on the wall near the exit. If she can reach it without being seen. She waits until the attendant is fully engrossed in his phone, then moves silently along the wall, inch by inch. She's almost there when her foot catches on a cord. A metal tray clatters to the floor. The attendant's head snaps up. "Who's there?" Becky doesn't think. She just acts. She yanks the fire alarm. Burring, burring, burring. The piercing sound echoes through the basement. The attendant jumps to his feet, looking around in confusion. Becky uses the chaos to push the gurney toward the service exit. "Hey, what are you doing?" the attendant shouts. But Becky is already through the door, pushing the gurney down the hallway toward the loading dock. Behind her, she hears the attendant shouting into his radio. "Security, we have an unauthorized person in the morgue." No time, no time. She bursts through the loading dock doors. Marcus's black sedan is already there, engine running. He jumps out, eyes wide. "Becky, what the hell? Help me get him in the car, now!" Marcus looks at the gurney, at the sheet-covered body, and his face goes pale. Is that a dead body? "Becky, are you out of your mind? He's not dead. Just help me." Something in her voice, the sheer desperation, makes Marcus move. Together they lift Jumong into the back seat of the car. Becky climbs in beside him. "Drive!" she shouts. Marcus doesn't need to be told twice. The sedan peels out of the loading dock just as security guards burst through the doors behind them. They drive in silence for 10 minutes, weaving through Seoul's empty pre-dawn streets. Finally, Marcus speaks. "Becky, who the hell is that?" Becky looks down at Jumong's unconscious face. "That," she says quietly, "is the man someone tried very hard to kill tonight. And you just stole his body from the hospital morgue. I didn't steal it. I saved it." Marcus grips the steering wheel tighter. "Becky, I love you like a sister, but you need to tell me what's going on, right now." Becky takes a deep breath, and she tells him everything. The coffee delivery, the syringe, Minho's betrayal, the resurrection. When she finishes, Marcus is silent for a long moment. Then he laughs, a short, disbelieving sound. "You're telling me that's Jumong? The Jumong? The boss of the Yongsan Circle?" "Yes." "And you just brought him back from the dead?" "Yes." "And now we're driving around Seoul with a crime lord in my back seat?" "Yes." Marcus exhales slowly. "Okay. Okay. So what's the plan?" "I need somewhere safe, somewhere Minho won't think to look." Marcus thinks for a moment. "I know a place. My cousin runs a boarding house in Itaewon. The basement apartment. It's off the books, mostly used by people trying to stay invisible." "Perfect." "Becky, you realize what you just did, right? You didn't just save this man's life. You made yourself a target. If Minho finds out you witnessed the murder, you're dead." "I know. And you did it anyway." Becky looks down at Jumong again. His face is peaceful in sleep, unaware of the betrayal that nearly killed him. "I couldn't just walk away, Marcus. I couldn't." Marcus nods slowly. "Then I guess we're in this together." They arrive at the boarding house just as the sun begins to rise over Seoul. The basement apartment is exactly what Becky expected. Small, dingy, but private. Marcus helps her carry Jumong inside, laying him on the narrow bed. "I'll get supplies," Marcus says. "Medical stuff. Whatever you need. Antibiotics, sterile bandages, IV fluids if you can find them, pain medication. And food. Real food, not hospital food." "Got it." Marcus pauses at the door. "Becky, when he wakes up, he's not going to be happy. You know that, right?" "I know. Men like him, they don't trust easily, and you're going to have to convince him that you're not working for Minho." I'll deal with that when it happens. Marcus leaves. Becky sits beside the bed, watching Jumong breathe. She's exhausted. Her hands are still shaking from the adrenaline. But she did it. She saved him. Now she just has to keep him alive long enough to tell him the truth, and hope he doesn't kill her for it. Jumong wakes to the smell of mildew and the sound of water dripping somewhere in the darkness. His first thought is, I'm dead. His second thought is, this is a terrible afterlife. He tries to move and immediately regrets it. Pain explodes through his chest, his ribs, his head. Every muscle screams in protest. He's alive, but where? His eyes adjust to the dim light. He's in a small room, basement, judging by the tiny window near the ceiling showing a sliver of gray sky. The walls are concrete, water-stained. The bed he's lying on is narrow and lumpy. This is not a hospital, and he's not alone. There's a figure sitting in a chair beside the bed. A woman, black, young, maybe mid-20s. She's wearing jeans and an oversized hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She's asleep, her head tilted against the wall, but even in sleep, there's tension in her shoulders. Jumong's instincts kick in. Who is she? How did I get here? Where are my people? He tries to sit up, but his body won't cooperate. The movement must make a sound because the woman's eyes snap open. For a moment, they just stare at each other. Then she speaks. You're awake. Her voice is calm, but he can see the fear in her eyes. Jumong's voice comes out as a rasp. Who are you? My name is Becky Washington. Where am I? Itaewon, a safe house. Safe from what? Becky hesitates. Then, from the man who tried to kill you. The words hit Jumong like a physical blow. Memories flood back. The car crash, the hospital, Minho's face above him. Minho. Jumong's jaw clenches. Minho, he whispers. Becky nods. You saw? I saw. Jumong's eyes narrow. And you are? A waitress. I was delivering coffee to your room. I saw him inject something into your IV line. I saw him walk out when the alarms went off. And I saw the doctors pronounce you dead. But I'm not dead. No, you're not. Because of you. Yes. Jumong studies her face, looking for lies, for deception, for the trap he knows must be coming. But all he sees is exhaustion and determination. Why? He asks finally. Becky meets his gaze. Because I couldn't let him get away with it. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. I know. So why risk your life for a stranger? Becky is silent for a moment. Then, because I've spent the last 2 years watching people die when they didn't have to. My father died because we couldn't afford his treatment. I had to drop out of medical school because of the bills. I've seen too many people lose everything because someone with power decided their life wasn't worth saving. She leans forward, her eyes fierce. And I wasn't going to watch another person die just because some coward decided to murder them in their sleep. Jumong is quiet. No one has spoken to him like this in years. Most people fear him, or flatter him, or try to use him. But this woman, this stranger, risked everything for a principle. It's unsettling. Where is Minho now? Jumong asks, mourning you very publicly. He's been all over the news, the loyal friend devastated by your death. He's planning your funeral. Jumong's hands clench into fists. How long have I been unconscious? 2 days. 2 days. Minho has had 2 days to consolidate power. to position himself as the new leader of the Yongsan Circle, to eliminate anyone who might question his story. "I need a phone," Jumong says. "No." He looks at her sharply. "Excuse me? You can't call anyone. Minho controls the Yongsan Circle now. Anyone you call could be working for him. The moment you surface, he'll know." "I have loyal people." "Do you?" Becky interrupts. "Can you honestly say you know who's loyal and who's been bought? After what Minho did?" Jumong wants to argue, but he can't, because she's right. Minho was his most trusted lieutenant, his brother. If Minho could betray him, anyone could. "Then what do you suggest?" Jumong asks, his voice tight with frustration. "You recover, you get your strength back, and then you figure out who you can trust. And in the meantime, Minho runs my organization into the ground. Better that than you getting killed because you moved too fast." Jumong glares at her. She doesn't flinch. After a long moment, he laughs, a short, bitter sound. "You have nerve, I'll give you that. I also have the toxicology report." Jumong goes still. "What?" Becky pulls a folded piece of paper from her pocket. "Before I moved you, I took a blood sample. I had a friend at the hospital run it. This shows the potassium chloride levels in your system. It's proof of what Minho did." She hands in the report. Jumong stares at it, his mind racing. This could bring him down. Only if you're alive to present it, and only if you can get your people to believe you over him. Jumong looks at Becky with new eyes. "You're not just a waitress, are you? I was a pre-med student at Howard University. I know how to think strategically. And you saved this report because I knew you'd need evidence, and because I knew Minho would try to bury the truth." Jumong is silent for a long moment. Then, "Thank you." Becky blinks, surprised. "For what?" "For my life, and for caring enough to save the evidence." "You're welcome." They sit in silence for a moment. Then Jumong says, "But I'm still going to need that phone." "Absolutely not." Becky stands between Jumong and the door, arms crossed. It's been 12 hours since he woke up. 12 hours of arguing. Jumong is sitting on the edge of the bed, trying to catch his breath. He managed to stand for about 30 seconds before his legs gave out. "I need to contact my people," he says through gritted teeth. "You need to rest," Becky shoots back. "You were poisoned, you died, and I brought you back. Your body needs time to heal." "I don't have time." "You don't have a choice." Jumong looks at her with pure frustration. "Do you have any idea what's happening out there? Minho is consolidating power. He's eliminating anyone who might question his leadership. Every hour I stay hidden is another hour he tightens his grip. And every hour you push yourself too hard is another hour closer to your body shutting down completely." Jumong tries to stand again. This time, he makes it 3 steps before his vision swims, and he has to grab the wall for support. Becky is there instantly, steadying him. "Sit down before you pass out." "I can do this." "No, you can't. Not yet." She guides him back to the bed. Jumong sits heavily, breathing hard. He hates this, hates the weakness, hates the helplessness. He spent his entire life being strong, being in control, being the king. And now he's reduced to this, dependent on a stranger for survival. "I've never been this weak," he says quietly. Becky sits beside him. "You're not weak. You're recovering. There's a difference. To me, they're the same thing. Then you're wrong." Jumong looks at her. "How can you say that?" Becky meets his eyes. "Because I watched my father waste away from cancer. I watched him fight every single day to stay alive, even when his body was failing him. And the strongest thing I ever saw him do wasn't when he was healthy and working 2 jobs to support us. It was when he asked for help, when he admitted he couldn't do it alone anymore. Her voice cracked slightly. That took more strength than anything else. Jumong is quiet. Your father, he died 6 months ago. I'm sorry. So am I. They sit in silence for a moment. Then Jumong says, "Is that why you saved me? Because you couldn't save him?" Becky shakes her head. "I saved you because it was the right thing to do. But yeah, maybe part of me wanted to prove that I could save someone. That all those years of studying and sacrificing weren't for nothing." Jumong nods slowly. "You sacrificed medical school for him. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. But now you're a waitress. For now. You want to go back to medicine. Someday, when I can afford it." Jumong looks at her thoughtfully. "If we survive this, if I reclaim what's mine, I'll pay for your schooling, all of it." Becky's eyes widen. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. You saved my life. That debt can never be fully repaid, but I can give you back what you lost." Becky doesn't know what to say. Finally, "Let's focus on keeping you alive first." Jumong smiles, the first real smile since he woke up. "Deal." The door opens. Marcus walks in carrying plastic bags full of supplies. Antibiotics, IV fluids, bandages, and enough street food to feed a small army, he announces. Then he sees Jumong sitting up and freezes. "Oh, you're awake." Jumong looks at Marcus, then at Becky. "Friend of yours?" "Marcus Chen. He helped me get you out of the hospital." Marcus sets down the bags and extends a hand. "Nice to meet you. Officially, I mean. Last time I saw you, you were unconscious in my back seat." Jumong shakes his hand, studying him. "You took a big risk helping her." Marcus shrugs. "Becky's like family. When she calls, I answer." Jumong nods approvingly. "Loyalty. Good." Marcus grins. "Yeah, well, let's hope it doesn't get us all killed." Over the next 3 days, a routine develops. Becky changes Jumong's bandages, monitors his vital signs, administers antibiotics to fight off the infection developing in his wounds. Marcus brings supplies and news from the outside world, and Jumong heals. Slowly. He pushes himself too hard, trying to do exercises when Becky's not watching. She catches him doing push-ups on the second day and threatens to sedate him. "You're impossible," she mutters, forcing him back to bed. "I'm determined," he corrects. "Same thing." But despite his stubbornness, Becky can see the progress. His color is better. His breathing is stronger. The fever is gone. He's recovering. But the wounds aren't just physical. On the 4th night, Becky wakes to the sound of ragged breathing. She sits up in the chair where she's been sleeping and sees Jumong sitting on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. "Jumong?" He doesn't answer. She moves closer, turning on the small lamp. His face is pale, covered in sweat. "Nightmare?" she asks gently. He nods slowly. "Want to talk about it?" "No." But after a moment of silence, he speaks anyway. I keep seeing his face. Min-ho, standing over me. I trusted him with everything. My life, my organization, my secrets. His voice breaks. "How did I not see it? How did I not know?" Becky sits beside him. "Because he didn't want you to see it. People who betray you don't wear signs. They smile and call you brother, while they sharpen the knife. I made him who he is. I brought him into the Yongsan circle when he had nothing. I taught him everything. And this is how he repays me?" The pain in his voice is raw, unfiltered. Jumong, the modern king, the untouchable crime boss, sounds like a man whose heart has been shattered. He didn't just try to kill me, Jumong continues. He killed the one thing I believed in: loyalty, brotherhood, everything I built the Yongsan circle on. Becky is quiet for a moment. Then, so build something different. Jumong looks at her. What? When you take back what's yours, don't rebuild the same thing. Build something better, something that doesn't reward betrayal, something legitimate. You're asking me to walk away from everything I've ever known. I'm asking you to evolve. You said it yourself. Minho claimed you were stuck in the old ways. Prove him wrong. Show him that you can change, that you can be more than just a king of shadows. Jumong stares at her. No one has ever spoken to him like this. No one has ever challenged him to be better. You really think I can do that? He asks quietly. I think you're strong enough to survive being murdered by your best friend. I think you're strong enough to do anything. Jumong holds her gaze for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nods. Okay. Okay? I'll think about it after I deal with Min Ho. Fair enough. They sit in silence for a while. Then Jumong says, Becky? Yeah? Thank you for believing in me when I don't believe in myself. Becky smiles. You saved yourself by fighting to stay alive. I just gave you a second chance. What you do with it is up to you. Marcus bursts into the basement apartment the next morning, his face pale. We have a problem. Becky looks up from where she's changing Jumong's bandages. What kind of problem? Marcus turns on his phone and shows them a news broadcast. A reporter stands outside Seoul Central Hospital. Authorities are searching for Becky Washington, a foreign national who was working as a waitress in Seoul. She's wanted for questioning in connection with the disappearance of the body of Jumong, the late leader of the Yongsan Circle. Sources say she was last seen in the hospital the night of his death. Anyone with information is asked to contact. Becky's blood runs cold. How did they know? The morgue attendant saw you, Marcus says. He gave them your description, and Min Ho put out a reward. 500,000 won for information leading to your whereabouts. Jumong's jaw clenches. He knows you're the witness. Or he suspects, Becky says, trying to stay calm. Either way, I can't exactly walk around Seoul anymore. Marcus runs a hand through his hair. It gets worse. They've been showing your photo everywhere. Cafes, subway stations, convenience stores. Someone's going to recognize you eventually. Becky feels the walls closing in. She knew this was risky, but seeing her face on the news makes it real. She's not just a witness anymore. She's a target. Jumong stands, steadier now, though Becky can see the effort it costs him. We need to change your appearance. Hair, clothes, everything. I'm a black woman in Seoul. I'm going to stand out no matter what I do. Then we work with that, Jumong says. We make you invisible in plain sight. How? He thinks for a moment. Itaewon has a large international community. Americans, Europeans, Africans, you blend in there. We get you different clothes, businesswoman, not waitress. Hair, makeup, glasses. Make you look like an expat professional, not someone on the run. Marcus nods. I can get the supplies. My cousin knows people. Becky looks at Jumong. This is because of you. I know. I saved your life, and now I can't even go outside. I know. She wants to be angry, but she can't because she made this choice. All right, she says finally. Let's do it. 3 hours later, Becky looks in the cracked bathroom mirror and barely recognizes herself. Her natural hair is hidden under a sleek wig, shoulder length, professional. Up as Becky approaches. "You're either very brave or very foolish to come here," he says in perfect English. Becky freezes. "How did you? I heard you shouting in English out front. Not many foreign businesswomen get lost in Bukchon these days." He finally looks up, his eyes sharp despite his age, especially ones who sneak through back alleys. Becky hesitates. Then, "Are you Lee Tae-young?" "I am. I have a message for you." She pulls out the wooden tile and hands it to him. Lee takes it, his expression shifting from curious to shocked. "Where did you get this?" "From someone who wants you to know. The dragon isn't dead. He's just sleeping." Lee stares at the tile, his hands trembling slightly. "Jumong," he breathes. "He's alive." "Yes." Minho said he died in the hospital. The whole city mourned. Minho lied. He tried to kill him. I saw it happen. Lee looks at Becky with new intensity. "You're the waitress, the one they're looking for." "Yes. And Jumong sent you here." "Why?" "Because he needs to know who he can trust, and he thinks you're one of the few people Minho hasn't corrupted." Lee is quiet for a long moment, turning the tile over in his hands. Then, "He's right. Minho approached me the day after Jumong's supposed death, offered me a position as his advisor. I refused, told him I was retired. And he didn't push, which means either he respects my decision or he's planning to eliminate me quietly." Becky's stomach drops. "Then you're in danger." "I've been in danger since the day I joined this organization 40 years ago. Danger is nothing new." He stands, brushing dirt from his handbook. "Tell Jumong I'll help him, but he needs to move carefully. Minho has consolidated power faster than anyone expected. He's brought in new people, mercenaries, not circle members. And he's been liquidating assets, moving money offshore." "Why?" "Because he's not planning to stay in Seoul. He's planning to take the money and disappear. The Yongsan Circle is just a stepping stone for him." Becky's mind races. This changes everything. Jumong needs to know this. He does, and he needs to know something else. Lee's expression darkens. Minho has put a kill order on anyone who was close to Jumong. 3 of his old lieutenants have already disappeared. There are rumors of a purge. "How do we stop him?" "We don't. Not directly. Minho has the organization, the money, and the muscle. What we need is leverage." "What kind of leverage?" Lee smiles grimly. "The kind that comes from inside. Minho made one mistake. He kept the old accountant, Young-min Seo. She's been with the circle for 20 years. She knows every transaction, every account, every dirty secret." "And she's loyal to Jumong?" "No, she's loyal to survival. But if Jumong can offer her protection and Minho can't, she might talk." Becky nods, committing this to memory. "Anything else?" "Yes, tell Jumong to be patient. Minho is paranoid. He's making mistakes. If Jumong moves too soon, he'll lose. But if he waits, lets Minho destroy himself." Lee trails off meaningfully. "I'll tell him." "Good. Now go. And don't come back here. It's not safe for either of us." Becky turns to leave, then pauses. "Lee Si, do you think Jumong can win?" The old man looks at her with ancient eyes. "I've seen dragons rise from ashes before. It's what they do." Becky makes it back to the basement apartment without incident. Jumong and Marcus are waiting. She tells them everything Lee said. When she finishes, Jumong is quiet, processing. "So Minho is planning to run," he finally says. "That's what Lee thinks." which means he's more dangerous than I thought. A man with nothing to lose is unpredictable. But the accountant, Jung-min Seo, she could give us what we need to expose him. Jumong nods slowly. I know Jung. She's smart, calculating. She won't help unless she thinks we can actually win. So we need to prove we can win. Exactly. Marcus speaks up. How do you prove you can win when you're hiding in a basement with a waitress and a getaway driver? Jumong looks at him. Then, surprisingly, he laughs. You're right. We need to change the game. How? Becky asks. Jumong's eyes gleam with the first hint of his old confidence. By making Min-ho think he's already won, and then taking everything away from him when he least expects it. This is insane. Marcus stares at Jumong like he's lost his mind. You want to go where? The Gangnam Night Market, Jumong repeats calmly. This Saturday. The most crowded place in Seoul, where half the city goes, where Min-ho's people could be anywhere. Exactly. Becky crosses her arms. Okay, I'll bite. Why? Jumong stands, moving with significantly more strength now after a week of recovery. Because hiding makes me look weak, and weakness invites aggression. Min-ho thinks I'm dead, but rumors are starting to circulate. Lee isn't the only one who's suspicious. People are asking questions. So you want to add fuel to the fire? I want to send a message. Not directly, but enough to make Min-ho paranoid. Enough to make him start making mistakes. Marcus shakes his head. And if someone recognizes you? They won't. Not if I change my appearance the same way Becky did. He gestures to Becky. Besides, I won't be going alone. We're going as a couple. 2 foreigners, or a foreigner and a Korean, out for a date night in Gangnam. Nothing suspicious. Becky blinks. Wait, a couple? It's the perfect cover. Couples blend in. They're unremarkable. This is a terrible idea, Marcus mutters, but Becky can see the logic, as much as she hates to admit it. What's the real reason? She asks Jumong. He meets her eyes. I need to see the city. I need to understand what's changed, and I need to test whether your disguise techniques actually work in the real world. If we can walk through Gangnam without being recognized, we can move freely. If we can't, we're dead, Becky finishes, essentially. She considers this. Then, fine, but we do it my way. We go, we blend in, we leave. No heroics, no confrontations. Jumong nods. Agreed. Marcus groans. I'll start planning your funeral now. Saturday night. Becky looks at herself in the mirror one more time. She's wearing a casual but stylish outfit. Jeans, a nice blouse, a leather jacket. Her wig is styled differently, more relaxed, less corporate. She looks like any other international professional enjoying Seoul's nightlife. Jumong emerges from the bathroom, and Becky does a double take. He's wearing glasses, thick-framed and modern. His hair is styled differently, swept back. He's in a simple black turtleneck and slacks, looking more like a tech entrepreneur than a crime boss. The transformation is remarkable. You look normal, Becky says. Should I be offended? I mean, you look like a person, not a king. Jumong smiles faintly. Good, that's the point. Marcus drives them to Gangnam, dropping them off 2 blocks from the night market. I'll be circling. Text me when you're ready to leave, and for the love of God, don't get killed. They step out into the Seoul night. The Gangnam night market is chaos. Food stalls selling everything from tteokbokki to takoyaki. Street vendors hawking clothes, accessories, knockoff designer bags. Music blaring from speakers. The crowd is thick, locals and tourists mixing together in a sea of humanity. Becky feels Jumong tense beside her. "You okay?" she asks quietly. "It's been a long time since I was just part of a crowd." "Welcome to normal life." They walk slowly, weaving through the market. Becky buys them skewers of grilled meat from a street vendor. Jumong watches her interact with the vendor, her terrible Korean mixed with hand gestures and smiles. "You're good at this," he observes. "At what?" "Being normal, blending in." "I've had practice. You don't survive as a broke foreigner in Seoul without learning how to adapt." They find a bench and sit, eating in companionable silence. Around them, life continues. Couples holding hands, friends laughing, families with children chasing each other. Jumong watches it all with an expression Becky can't quite read. "What are you thinking?" she asks. "That I've forgotten what this feels like." "What?" "Being human, not a boss, not a king, just a person in a crowd." Becky looks at him. "You can have this, you know, when this is over. You don't have to go back to being who you were." "Part of me wants that. But part of you likes the power. Part of me doesn't know who I am without it." Becky takes a bite of her food, thinking. "My dad used to say that identity isn't about what you do. It's about who you are when no one's watching. When there's no title, no role, no expectations, just you." "And who are you, Becky Washington?" She considers this. "I'm someone who believes people deserve second chances, even if they don't think they do." Jumong holds her gaze. "You gave me more than a second chance. You gave me my life back. So don't waste it." They sit in silence for a moment. Then Jumong says, "Why did you really drop out of Howard? The truth." Becky is quiet. "My father's medical bills were part of it, but there was more." "What?" "I was good at medicine, really good, but I was also exhausted. I'd been studying, working, trying to support my dad. I'd barely slept. And then one day during a clinical rotation, I made a mistake. A small one, mixed up two patients' charts. Nothing serious happened, but it could have." She stares at her hands. "I realized that if I kept going at that pace, I was going to hurt someone. So I left. Told myself it was about the money, but really, I was scared. Scared that I wasn't good enough, that I'd fail when it mattered most." Jumong listens without judgment. "And then you saved my life, using everything you learned." "Yeah." "So you didn't fail. You succeeded when it mattered most." Becky feels tears prick her eyes. "I guess I did." Jumong reaches over and squeezes her hand. "Thank you for trusting me with that." Before Becky can respond, someone bumps into Jumong from behind. "Sorry," a young man says in Korean, barely glancing at them as he hurries past. Jumong tenses. Becky squeezes his hand. "He didn't recognize you." "How do you know?" "Because if he had, we'd already be surrounded." Jumong relaxes slightly. "You're right." They stand, walking deeper into the market. As they pass a jewelry stall, Becky pauses. There's a small silver bracelet on display, simple but elegant. The vendor notices her looking. "For your girlfriend?" he asks Jumong in English, clearly pegging them as a couple. Jumong glances at Becky, then at the bracelet. "How much?" 5 minutes later, Becky is wearing the bracelet. "You didn't have to do that," she says. "I wanted to. Consider it a thank you gift. You're already paying for my medical school. Then consider it a friend gift." Becky smiles. "Friends?" "Friends." They walk through the market for another hour, talking about everything and nothing. Jumong tells her about growing up in Seoul, about how he fell into the criminal world almost by accident, about the moment he realized he'd become someone feared rather than respected. Becky tells him about Howard, about her dreams of becoming a doctor, about the weight of being a first-generation college student carrying her family's hopes. It's strange. This man was a stranger a week ago. Now he feels like someone she's known for years. As they're leaving the market, Becky's phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. "Get out. Now. Minho's people just arrived at the north entrance." Jumong sees her face change. "What?" "We need to go. Now." They walk quickly toward the south exit, trying not to run and draw attention. Becky glances back and sees them. 3 men in dark suits, scanning the crowd methodically. Minho's enforcers. They're looking for someone. Not necessarily Jumong, but anyone suspicious. Jumong pulls Becky closer, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Act natural. We're just a couple leaving." They pass within 10 feet of one of the enforcers. Becky's heart pounds so hard, she's sure everyone can hear it. The enforcer's eyes sweep over them and move on. They didn't recognize them. They make it to Marcus's car, sliding into the back seat. "Drive," Jumong says. Marcus doesn't need to be told twice. As they pull away, Becky looks back at the market. The enforcers are still searching. "Too close," Marcus mutters. But Jumong is smiling. "No, that was perfect." "Perfect? We almost got caught." "Exactly. We walked through a crowded market, past Minho's people, and they didn't recognize us. Which means the disguises work. Which means we can move." He looks at Becky. "Your plan worked." Becky exhales, her adrenaline slowly fading. "Let's not do that again anytime soon." Agreed. But as they drive back to the safe house, Becky realizes something. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, she feels like they might actually have a chance. Not because of power or connections or resources, but because Jumong is learning to be someone other than the modern king. He's learning to be human again. And that might be the most dangerous thing Minho never saw coming. The call comes at 4 a.m. Marcus's phone rings, jarring them all awake. He answers, listens, and his face goes pale. "When? How many? Okay, thanks." He hangs up. "We need to move, right now." Jumong is instantly alert. "What happened?" "My cousin just got a tip from her friend, who works at the police station. Minho filed a report. He claims you kidnapped Becky and are holding her hostage. He's spinning you as a rogue element who faked his own death and is now dangerous. The police are coordinating with his people to raid suspected locations." Becky's blood runs cold. "He's turning the authorities against us?" "Worse. He's making himself look like the hero trying to save you. If they find us, we won't just be arrested. Minho's people will accidentally kill Jumong during the raid, and I'll be collateral damage." Jumong is already moving, gathering the few possessions they have. "How much time do we have?" "An hour, maybe less. My cousin said this location isn't on the list yet, but it's only a matter of time." Becky grabs her bag, her mind racing. "Where do we go? Every safe house in Seoul could be compromised." Jumong pauses, thinking. "The subway." Marcus blinks. "What?" "The Seoul subway system, over 700 kilometers of tunnels, runs 20 hours a day. We stay mobile, keep moving between stations, blend in with the morning commuters." "You want to hide in the subway?" "I want to hide in plain sight. Minho's people will be watching roads, buildings, hotels. They won't expect us to be riding the Green Line at 5 a.m. with office workers and students." Becky considers this. It's crazy, but it might work. What about our stuff? We take only what we can carry in a backpack. Everything else gets left behind. Marcus grabs his keys. I'll drive you to Hongdae Station. It's busy, even early morning. You can disappear into the crowd. 20 minutes later, they're standing on the platform of Hongdae Station. Marcus hugs Becky tightly. Be careful, and text me when you can. I'll keep feeding you information. Thank you, Marcus, for everything. Just don't die, okay? I can't explain to your mom why I let you get killed in Seoul. Despite everything, Becky smiles. Marcus drives away, and Becky and Jumong are alone in the fluorescent-lit subway station. Around them, early morning commuters shuffle past, sleepy students, night shift workers heading home, business people starting their day. No one gives them a second glance. Jumong buys 2 transit cards from a machine. Where are we going? Becky asks. Everywhere. We ride for a while, get off randomly, switch lines, make ourselves impossible to track. They board the Green Line train heading toward Gangnam. For the next 6 hours, they become ghosts. They ride the subway lines in circles, getting off at random stations, switching directions, doubling back. Becky watches Jumong adapt to this new reality. The man who once controlled Seoul's underground is now just another face in the crowd, holding a subway pole and swaying with the motion of the train. At Gangnam Station, they grab coffee and pastries from a convenience store. At Jamsil, they sit on a bench and pretend to be tourists looking at a subway map. At Seoul Station, they blend with the massive rush-hour crowd. And slowly, Becky realizes something. No one is looking for them. Minho's people are watching buildings, monitoring hotels, checking known safe houses. But they're not checking the subway. Around noon, Jumong's burner phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. Jung Min-so willing to meet. Tonight. Dongdaemun Design Plaza, 8 p.m. Come alone. Becky reads it over his shoulder. The accountant? Yes. It could be a trap. Almost certainly. So why are we going? Because she's our only chance at getting the evidence we need to expose Min-ho. Without her financial records, it's just my word against his. And Min-ho knows that, which is why he's probably using her as bait. Jumong nods grimly, which is why I'm going alone. Absolutely not. Becky. No, we've been through this. You can't get revenge if you're dead. Remember? You're still recovering. You're not at full strength. And if Min-ho's people are waiting for you, you need backup. What backup? It's just us. Becky thinks for a moment. Then, give me the phone. She texts Marcus. Need your help. Big favor. Tonight. The response comes instantly. Name it. Becky explains the situation. Marcus's reply. I'll bring friends. What's the plan? Dongdaemun Design Plaza at night is a futuristic silver structure that looks like a spaceship landed in the heart of Seoul. It's a popular spot for tourists, couples, and photographers. Tonight, it's also a battlefield. Becky and Jumong arrive separately at 7:45 p.m. Jumong approaches from the west entrance, dressed in his disguise, glasses, different hair, casual clothes. Becky circles the perimeter, watching for Min-ho's people. She spots them almost immediately. 3 men in dark suits stationed at strategic points around the plaza. Not police, private security. Min-ho's enforcers. She texts Jumong. 3 hostiles. Northeast corner, south entrance, and near the main stairs. Jung is probably being watched. Jumong's response. Proceed as planned. Becky moves to the meeting point, a coffee shop on the 2nd level with a view of the main plaza. Jung Min-so is already there. She's a woman in her 50s, elegant and composed, wearing a business suit. Her hands are wrapped around a cup of coffee, but she's not drinking. Becky approaches her table. "Jung-si?" The woman looks up, startled. "You're not Jumong." "No, I'm his associate. He sent me to make sure this meeting is safe." Jung's eyes narrow. "I said come alone." And he would have if Min-ho wasn't planning to ambush him the moment he showed his face. Jung's expression flickers, surprise, then resignation. "You know." "Of course we know. The question is, are you part of it, or are you actually willing to help?" Jung is quiet for a long moment. Then, "I'm not part of it. Min-ho doesn't trust me. He brought in his own accountant, someone who will help him cook the books. I've been sidelined." "So why contact Jumong?" "Because Min-ho is destroying everything the Yongsan Circle stood for. He's liquidating assets, stealing from the organization, planning to disappear with the money. And when he does, everyone who's left will take the fall, including me." Becky studies her face. She's telling the truth. "What do you need from us?" "Protection, and a way out of Seoul. I have evidence, years of financial records showing Min-ho's embezzlement. But if I go to the police, I implicate myself. If I go to the Circle members, they'll think I'm trying to start a coup. The only person who can use this information without destroying everyone is Jumong. And what do you want in return?" "Immunity, a new identity, enough money to start over somewhere Min-ho can't find me." Becky considers this. "I need to see the evidence first." Jung pulls out a USB drive from her purse. "Everything is on here. Offshore accounts, shell companies, falsified reports. Enough to prove that Min-ho has stolen over 50 billion won from the Yongsan Circle." Becky takes the drive. "How do we know this isn't fake?" "Because if it was, I wouldn't be risking my life to give it to you." "Fair point." Becky texts Jumong. "Package received. Extracting now." She stands. "Come with me. We're leaving." "What about my protection?" "That starts now." They descend to the main plaza. Becky keeps Jung close, scanning for threats. The three enforcers haven't moved from their positions, which means they're waiting for a signal, waiting for Jumong. Becky guides Jung toward the south exit, the one with only one enforcer. They're almost there when, "Jung Min Seo!" A man's voice, loud and authoritative. Min-ho steps out from behind a pillar. He's flanked by 6 more enforcers who seem to materialize from the crowd. Jung freezes. Min-ho smiles, cold and predatory. "Did you really think I wouldn't know? That I wouldn't be watching you?" He looks at Becky. "And you, the waitress who thinks she's a hero. Where is he? Where is Jumong?" Becky's mind races. They're surrounded. The enforcers are closing in. She needs to buy time. "He's not here," she says calmly. "Liar. Jung sent him a message. He would never send someone else to collect something this important." "Then you don't know him as well as you think." Min-ho's smile fades. He pulls out a gun. The crowd around them starts to scatter, people screaming and running. "Last chance. Where is he?" Becky meets his eyes. "Right behind you." Min-ho spins, and Jumong is there. Not in disguise, not hiding, standing in the center of the plaza, wearing a suit, his hair slicked back, looking every inch the modern king. The crowd that's left gasps. Min-ho's face goes pale. "You're dead," he whispers. "Clearly not," Jumong says calmly. Around the plaza, people are pulling out their phones, taking videos. This is going to be all over social media in minutes. Min-ho's hand tightens on the gun. "You should have stayed dead. You should have been a better brother." The two men stare at each other. Years of brotherhood, years of loyalty, all shattered in one moment of betrayal. Minho raises the gun, and the plaza floods with light. Police cars, dozens of them, sirens wailing. Officers pour out, surrounding the area. Minho looks around, confused. "What?" A voice booms over a megaphone. "Drop your weapons! You are all under arrest!" Jumong pulls out his phone, showing Minho the screen. It's a video call. On the screen is Lee Tae-young, sitting in what appears to be a police station. "Hello, Minho," the old man says pleasantly. "I believe you know Chief Prosecutor Kim? I've been having a very interesting conversation with him about financial irregularities in certain organizations." Minho's face twists with rage. "You. And thanks to Ms. Jung's excellent record-keeping, we have more than enough evidence to charge you with embezzlement, money laundering, and attempted murder." The police close in. Minho's enforcers drop their weapons, surrendering. But Minho doesn't. He points the gun at Jumong. "If I'm going down, you're coming with me." He pulls the trigger. Becky slams into Jumong, knocking him aside. The bullet hits the ground, where Jumong was standing a second before. Police tackle Minho, disarming him. He struggles, screaming, "He faked his death! He's a criminal! Arrest him!" But Jumong is already walking away, melting into the crowd with Becky and Jung. By the time the police look for him, he's gone. Later that night, in a new safe house Marcus arranged, they watch the news coverage. Minho Park, formerly acting leader of the Yongsan Circle organization, has been arrested on multiple charges, including embezzlement and attempted murder. Prosecutors say they have extensive financial evidence provided by an anonymous source. Park maintains his innocence, claiming the real criminal is Jumong, who allegedly faked his own death. Becky mutes the TV. "They're going to look for you." "Let them look," Jumong says. "By the time they figure out where to search, I'll be gone." "Gone where?" "Away from Seoul, away from the Yongsan Circle, away from all of it." Jung looks up from where she's sitting. "What about the organization? Without Minho, there's a power vacuum. Someone needs to lead." Jumong shakes his head. "Not me. Not anymore." He pulls out his phone and makes a call. "Lee Si? It's me." "Yes, I'm fine. Listen, I need you to do something. The Yongsan Circle needs to be dissolved. Legitimately. I want you to work with the remaining leadership to transition all our operations into legal businesses. Real estate, restaurants, import, export. Whatever can be done above board. Yes, I'm serious. Because it's time. The old ways are dying. We either evolve or we disappear." He listens for a moment. "And Lee, thank you for everything. You kept your promise to my father. Your debt is paid." He hangs up. Becky stares at him. "You're really walking away?" "I'm really walking away." "Why?" Jumong looks at her. "Because someone once told me I was strong enough to be more than just a king of shadows." And she was right. 3 months later, Becky Washington walks through the gates of Yonsei University's College of Medicine. She's wearing a student ID badge around her neck. After everything that happened, Jumong made good on his promise. He paid for her tuition, all 4 years, and living expenses. Before he disappeared, he left her an envelope with a bank account number and a simple note. "Finish what you started. The world needs healers more than it needs kings." She hasn't heard from him since. Lee Tae-young sends her updates occasionally. The Yongsan Circle is being dismantled, piece by piece. Its assets being transformed into legitimate businesses. Minho is awaiting trial. Jung Min-so is living safely somewhere in Canada under a new identity. And Jumong? gone. No one knows where. Some say he went to Japan, others claim he's in Thailand. A few whisper he never left Seoul, that he's still here, watching over the city from the shadows. Becky doesn't know. And maybe that's okay. She walks into her first anatomy lecture, finding a seat near the middle. The professor begins the lesson. Becky opens her notebook. On her wrist, the silver bracelet from the Gangnam night market catches the light. She smiles. Somewhere out there, the modern king is building a new kingdom. Not one of crime and violence, but one of second chances. And Becky Washington, the waitress who refused to let him die, is building her own kingdom too, one patient at a time. Epilogue. 6 months later, a small medical clinic opens in Itaewon. It's unremarkable, simple, but it offers free health care to foreigners and immigrants who can't afford Seoul's expensive medical system. The clinic's funding comes from an anonymous donor. The clinic's first doctor is a young woman named Becky Washington, who just finished accelerating through her first year of medical school with perfect grades. She's volunteering on weekends while she studies. On the day of the clinic's grand opening, a delivery arrives. A package. Inside is a stethoscope. Engraved on the chest piece in Korean is a single word. 생명구조자, lifesaver. Becky holds it for a long moment, tears in her eyes. Then she puts it around her neck and goes to see her first patient. Outside, across the street, a man in glasses and a baseball cap watches from a coffee shop window. He sees Becky emerge from the clinic, smiling as she greets an elderly immigrant couple. He smiles too. Then he stands, pays for his coffee, and walks away into the Seoul afternoon. The dragon isn't sleeping anymore. He's awake. But he's no longer a king. He's something better. He's free. This has been a Christy J. story. If you enjoyed this tale of betrayal, redemption, and second chances, please like, subscribe, and comment below telling me, what would you do if you witnessed a murder, but saving the victim meant risking everything? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to seek revenge. It's to choose to be better than the people who hurt you. Until next time, this is Christy J. Stay safe, stay strong, and always remember, every ending is just a new beginning in disguise.